Shalom, family. Praise the Lord God. Gather here. Get another. I couldn't read it. I'll be doing too much. We're going to do Feast of Dedication today. Now we're going to get this opening prayer on. We face east toward the temple, toward the land we were brought from. That's right. Go ahead.
Yeah, according to the book of 1 Kings, the 8th chapter, we face the east. Not because we faced a rock or anything like that. We're supposed to turn back to the land which we came, and our prayers will be heard. Second witness to that is 2 Chronicles 6. Daniel 6, chapter 10 tells us to pray 3 times a day. 1 Corinthians 11 tells us about our head coverings. Women ought to cover their heads while praying and prophesying in the assembly, and men ought to uncover their heads while praying and prophesying. Book of 1 Tim, chapter 2 and 8, tell us to raise our hands like a child reaching out for their parents, because we do need our Father in these trying times. So we're going to get this open in prayer with the Most High's permission, in the name of His only begotten Son, our Lord and Savior, Yahweh Shah HaMashiach, locally known as Jesus the Christ. We'll read from the book of Psalms in the 54th chapter. Long live the King.
Long live the King.
Psalm 54. Save me, O Yah, by thy name, and judge me by thy strength. Hear my prayer, O Yah. Give ear to the words of my mouth, for strangers are risen up against me, and oppressors seek after my soul. They have not set Yah before them. Selah.
Selah.
Behold, Yah is mine helper. The Most High is with them that uphold my soul. He shall reward evil unto mine enemies. Cut them off in thy truth. I will freely sacrifice unto thee. I will praise thy name, O Yahweh, for it is good. For he hath delivered me out of all trouble, and mine eye hath seen the desire upon mine enemy.
Hallelujah! Selah!
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What's up, baby? Get it in.
Like I said, we're going to do the Feast of Dedication. Go into that, because it's coming up starting on the 2nd to the 10th. So we need to know beforehand what we're supposed to be doing, not right as we get up to it. We have to be better prepared for the things we're supposed to be doing these days. Let's start off in John chapter 10. See what Yeshua said about it.
Crap. John 10.
We're going to start at verse 1.
Okay.
John chapter 10, verse 1.
You got that volume in there. Get it started out.
We starting off in John chapter 10, family. Everybody there? John chapter 10, verse 1. Verily, verily, I say unto you, he that entereth not by the door into the sheepfold, but climbeth up some other way, the same is a thief and a robber. But he that entereth in by the door is the shepherd of the sheep. To him the potter openeth, and the sheep hear his voice. And he calleth his own sheep by name, and leadeth them out. And when he put forth his own sheep, he goeth before them, and the sheep follow him, and they know his voice.
So the sheep know the voice. So the sheep know what they're supposed to be doing. Go ahead.
And a stranger will they not follow, but will flee from him, for they know not the voice of strangers. This parable spake Jesus unto them, but they understood not what things they were which he spake unto them.
That's the envy not thou oppressor and choose none of his ways. They didn't even understand what he's saying to them. Just like we know to this day, still doing what he's supposed to be doing. They was gobbling up the other day.
Yeah.
Come on.
Then said Jesus unto them again, Verily, verily, I say unto you, I am the door of the sheep. All that ever came before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep did not hear them.
The sheep still ain't here. Go ahead.
I am the door. By me, if any man enter it in, he shall be saved.
He shall be what?
He shall be saved, and shall go in and out, and find pasture. Verse 10, the thief cometh not, but for to steal, and to kill, and to destroy. I am come that they might have life, and that they might have it more abundantly. I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd giveth his life for the sheep.
That's right.
But he that is a harlot,
A
hireling, is not the shepherd, whose own the sheep are not. Seeth the wolf coming, and leave the sheep, and fleeth. And the wolf catcheth them, and scattereth the sheep.
So the hireling scattered the sheep.
Right. He ain't got nothing invested. You know, the shepherd protects the flock, and it's just like the scriptures say, the sheep know his voice because they know that he loves them and will protect them.
That's right.
But then if you got somebody else that's just stepping in to do the job, and they're not in it for the love of the flock, they're in it for filthy lucre's sake, for instance, their love for the sheep are not there. So when the threat comes, they're going to break and run and leave you by yourself, which is what a lot of these prosperity preachers is doing, these pimps in the pulpit. They in it for the money. You know, they say if you're not sowing your seeds, paying tithes, then you don't have blessings coming down from the Most High. But what we're supposed to be doing is showing fervent charity toward one another. You know, you give freely, and freely you'll receive. Don't look for something in return all the time. But, you know, when he sees fit and it's just due, he'll give it to you.
You need to study to show your self-approval. That way these hirelings can't get over on you.
That's right.
You'll know when he tripping.
Yeah.
Right? Because you ain't got respect the person and just dealing with him. Oh, if he said it, it must be good.
It must be.
Oh,
Must
no
be.
man.
My pastor say,
No, your pastor don't say nothing. Let's say the Lord.
yes, sir.
Come on.
Verse 13, the hireling fleeth, because he is a hireling, and cared not for the sheep. I am the good shepherd, and know my sheep, and am known of mine.
That's right.
As the Father knoweth me, even so know I the Father, and I lay down my life for the sheep.
That's right.
All praise. And other sheep I have, which are not of this fold. Them also I must bring, and they shall hear my voice. And there shall be one fold and one shepherd.
That's right.
We should all have the same mindset. Willing to die for the sheep. Willing to die for your brother. Lay it down for them. Don't think about yourself. Think about the next man that's keeping the Most High's judgments and commandments.
Now see, it's just like he says there, and other sheep I have, which are sheep that are not his. which are not of this fold, them also I must bring. So he's assuming responsibility for them because they're willing to roll with him. And they shall hear my voice, and there shall be one fold. So you grafted them into that and not looking at them as an outsider because they're on one accord, just like Amos 3:3. Can two walk together except they be agreed? If we're not on one doctrine, how can we walk together and say, I agree to disagree with my brother? You know, I can't kick it like that. I think that's fake. Myself personally, speaking as a man, you know, so with that being said, man, if somebody else, regardless of their nationality, their nationhood, if they're willing to get down with our God, live by his laws, statutes, judgments, and commandments, then I'll roll with them. Right. That's me personally. I don't know about everybody else, but I know niggas that won't even keep the 10.
Right. You know what I'm saying?
Who are you to deny them that right?
Right.
You understand? You know what I'm saying? Who guaranteed just because you got the blood of the 12 pumping through your veins that you guaranteed a doorway into the kingdom?
And you got a black heart.
We gonna read it. I've got a couple of scripts where our own kings were still doing wicked in the temple.
Yeah.
This is before it was Hellenized by the Greeks and the Romans in Babylon. This was our own priests doing it. Go ahead, please read that. We're gonna go down 29.
Verse 17. Therefore do my Father love me, because I lay down my life, that I might take it again. No man taketh it from me, but I lay it down of myself.
That's right.
I have power to lay it down, and I have power to take it again. This commandment have I received of my Father. There was a division, therefore, among the Jews for these sayings. And many of them said, he have a devil and is mad.
So this word been splitting people for a long time.
That's what I was just going to say. Division of the Jews. Same people, but they got different thoughts and beliefs on this.
And many of them said, he have a devil and is mad. Why hear ye him? Others said, these are not the words of him that have a devil. Can a devil open the eyes of the blind?
He's doing healing matters. He's doing the most high work. Right. They're trying to call him a devil. Right. What is that?
Haters.
It's backwards. That's Babylonian, ain't it? Go ahead.
And it was at the Jerusalem, the feast of the dedication.
What?
The feast of the dedication. And it was winter.
So Christ even did the feast of dedication.
How far you going down, bro?
Yeah, we're going down to that. Christ even did the feast of dedication. And we're going to read some stuff where if it wasn't for the Maccabees, he wouldn't even have no temple to do it in. Because the Romans defiled it, and we defiling it before them. It had to be rebuilt the second time, and that was before Babylon tore it down. Go ahead.
Verse 23. And Jesus walked in the temple in Solomon's porch. Then came the Jews round about him, and said unto him, how long doest thou make us to doubt? If thou be the Christ, tell us plainly. Jesus answered them, I told you, and you believe not.
Right. He's showing them the miracles and the wonders, and they still don't believe. Go ahead.
The works that I do in my Father's name, they bear witness of me. But you believe not, because you are not of my sheep, as I said unto you. My sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me. Again, I give unto them eternal life, and they shall never perish, neither shall any man pluck them out of my hand. My Father, which gave them me, is greater than all, and no man is able to pluck them out of my Father's hand.
So the Most High gonna keep it 100 with you. What you gotta do is be doing what he said. So let's go to 2 Chronicles chapter 29. We're gonna read the whole thing.
Second Chronicles 29.
Yeah.
And see, we read in there too that the shepherd takes care of the flock, but in these churches today, it's the flock taking care of the shepherd. You know, he's driving a nice car and got the parking spot right up front. You barely got there on your $3 worth of gas, but you still got to put something in that collection plate. 10% to be precise. That's what they ask. Some asking for 20. We just ask for free will, you know.
Second Chronicles chapter 29.
What verse is?
1.
That's the beginning. All right, I'll get it, bro.
Yeah, I think you better.
Yeah. We're in the book of 2 Chronicles, chapter 29. We'll start our reading at around verse 1. Let's get some understanding. Hezekiah began to reign when he was 25 years old, and he reigned 29 years in Jerusalem.
Now, Hezekiah was the son of Ahab, and he reigned when he was, what, 20, what did he say?
He was 25 years old.
Most of them started when they were young, but a lot of them, they only reigned for 15, 16 years. This one, who was Josiah, he got his head cut off. No. Jeconiah, he got his head cut off after a year and a half. And he's still King David's descendants. This is before Jerusalem has been taken over. Go ahead.
Verse 2. Oh, wait a minute, let me start at 29:1. Hezekiah began to reign when he was 25 years old, and he reigned 29 years in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Abiah, the daughter of Zechariah. And he did that which was right in the sight of the Most High.
Now, see, he did right in the sight of the Most High. Go ahead.
According to all that David his father had done. He, in the first year of his reign, in the first month, opened the doors of the house of the Most High and repaired them. And he brought in the priests and the Levites and gathered them together into the east street and said unto them, Hear me, ye Levites, sanctify now yourselves and sanctify the house of the Most High Yah of your fathers, and carry forth the filthiness out of the holy place.
See, so they rededicate the temple, and this is not the feast of dedication, but this is another time they had to rededicate the temple, because our own priests was leaving church. Go ahead.
Verse 6, For our fathers have trespassed and done that which was evil in the eyes of the Most High our power, and have forsaken him, and have turned away their faces from the habitation of Yahweh.
Hold on, right there. We're going to get a second witness to that. Go to 2 Kings 16. I think it's 1 through 3. Let's read about Hezekiah.
2 Kings 16, 1 through 3. I'm gonna hold this.
Actually, just 1 through 2.
2 Kings, chapter 16, verse 1. In the 17th year of Pekah, the son of Remiah, Ahaz, the son of Jocham, king of Judah, began to reign. 20 years old was Ahaz when he began to reign, and reigned 16 years in Jerusalem, and did not that which was right in the sight of the Lord,
So
his God.
this is Hezekiah's father, not doing what's right in the eyes of the Most High in our temple before it was taken by anybody else. Go ahead.
Like David his father. Verse 3. But he walked in the way of the kings of Israel, and made his son to pass through the fire.
Right, that's it. We can go back to
the 2 Chronicles 29. Okay. We'll pick that back up at verse 6. 2 Chronicles chapter 29 and verse 6. For our fathers have trespassed and done that which was evil in the eyes of the Most High our power, and have forsaken him, and have turned away their faces from the habitation of Yahweh, and turned their backs. Also, they have shut up the doors of the porch, and put out the lamps, and have not burned incense, nor offered burnt offering in the holy place unto Yah of Israel.
They shut up the porch, huh?
Yeah.
You shut down the temple to the Most High? Really? Go ahead.
Go ahead, sir.
In this, you remember, they got stiff-necked. Not only that, it's a stiff-necked type of people, what you said.
Yeah.
So the apostate, would you say that they became apostates along with these stiff-necked? Or would they follow their previous fathers because it mentioned a while back that they were apostates?
Well, that's just a problem that we got as a people, even to this day. We don't want to do what's right. There's going to be those who want to go against what they're supposed to be doing. And these were kings doing it.
So may I say that even just had they forgotten what was taught them by Hashem and to the others, the college of the apostles?
I would just think they chose to do otherwise.
So even though they knew better.
They knew better. Mm-hmm. We still know better to this day, and sometimes we still fall short. I knew.
So would you say that when they said that he did right out there in the eyes of others of the Father, so that right there was mentioned righteousness, that they decided to change their hearts, because the Father knows the hearts of men.
Yeah.
Would you say that they turned away from not just rights, but righteousness?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He knew he knew what they was going to do. He put them in their place for a reason, so that his will would be done. Each one of these, from Ahaz all the way down to Zedekiah, all of them still had the blood of David, and a lot of them were still going on. So much until when Hezekiah took over, Babylon was running stuff, and he was the last bloodline descendant that got the rights. But he was letting them do whatever. They was worshiping other gods and idols.
So, and I'm not trying. So would you say, unlike the adversary demands that he rule over us with complete rulership, unlike our Creator who gives us a will? Would you say that?
We have free will.
We have free will. So with the free will that we have from our Creator, if we chose to go another way, we are, in essence, dominant. I'm saying this for a reason. So we become dominated or conquered, not just as a people, but as an individual in every area of our life, whether it be mind, spirit, soul, whatever.
That don't mean it's over with for you. You can come back from that.
Okay.
That don't mean that you stuck at that point. You can repent, and the Most High can open your eyes, and you can turn back from that type of behavior and start doing His will.
So you can ask for a righteous heart or a righteous spirit.
That's what I would want all the time. You want a wicked spirit.
So when you say resist, so you can resist either the Father or you can resist your adversary.
You got a choice to make all the time. Temptation is there at all the time. You can go left or continue to go right.
So with the lesson that we learned from Sirach on last week, it was talking about how they knew the word. And because they knew the word of Sirach 39:41, and in that it says that those that don't know, and I'm saying this for a reason because I'm looking back at what we learned last week and this week, and saying that those that don't know the law of their fathers are doomed to repeat those same sins. So because of that, we're saying now that they were not taught or they're doomed, the curses or those same evil we experienced from that this is their father are now visiting them, and they may choose to follow the ways of the unrighteous.
They've taken that choice to go unrighteous.
Just put it down. So Sirach 39:41 is correct.
We have a choice.
And opposed to what you're saying here.
Well, I don't see what you're saying opposed, because I thought I got the same thing out of it.
Well, it's the same. So you're putting it together as it comes as one.
We all have choices all the time. I'm saying, yes, some of these kings went off and they made the choice to go off. You good? All right. Come on.
2 Chronicles, chapter 29, and we're at verse 8. And it reads, "Wherefore the wrath of the Most High was upon Judah and Jerusalem, and he hath delivered them to trouble, to astonishment, and to hissing, as ye see with your eyes."
See, the Most High delivered them to these things.
Right.
Now it's on you to maintain it.
Right.
Verse 9, "For lo, our fathers have fallen by the sword, and our sons and our daughters and our wives are in captivity for this. Now it is in mine heart to make a covenant with the Most High Yah of Israel, that his fierce wrath may turn away from us. My sons, be not now negligent, for the Most High hath chosen you to stand before him, to serve him, and that ye should minister unto him and burn incense." Then the Levites arose, Mahath the son of Amasai, and Joel the son of Azariah, of the sons of the Kohathites, and of the sons of Merari, Kish the son of Abdi, and Azariah the son of Jehaliel, and of the Gershonites, Joah the son of Zimmah, and Eden the son of Joab, and of the sons of Elizaphan, Shimri, and Jair, and of the sons of Asaph, Zechariah, and Mattaniah, and of the sons of Heman, Jehiel, and Shimei, and of the sons of Jeduthun, Shemaiah, and Uzziel. And they gathered their brethren, and sanctified themselves, and came according to the commandments of the king, by the words of the Most High, to cleanse the house of Yahweh. And the priest went into the inner part of the house of the Lord to cleanse it, and brought out all the uncleanness that they found in the temple of Yahweh, in the court of the house of Yahweh. And the Levites took it to carry it out abroad into the brook Kidron. Now they began on the first day of the first month to sanctify, and on the 8th day of the month they came to the porch of the Most High. So they sanctified the house of Yahweh in 8 days. And in the 16th day of the first month, they made an end. Then they went in to Hezekiah the king and said, we have cleansed all the house of the Most High, and the altar of burnt offering, with all the vessels thereof, and the showbread table, with all the vessels thereof. Moreover, all the vessels which King Ahaz in his reign did cast away in his transgression, have we prepared and sanctified.
See, they said King Ahaz, that was his father, cast away some of the treasures. As he was doing with it. Go ahead.
And behold, they are before the altar of the Most High. Then Hezekiah the king rose early and gathered the rulers of the city and went up to the house of the Most High. And they brought 7 bullocks and 7 rams and 7 lambs and 7 he-goats for a sin offering for the kingdom and for the sanctuary and for Judah. And he commanded the priests, the sons of Aaron, to offer them on the altar of the Most High.
They rededicate the temple right now, but this ain't from the feast of dedication. Go ahead.
Verse 22. So they killed the bullocks, and the priest received the blood and sprinkled it on the altar. Likewise, when they had killed the rams, they sprinkled the blood upon the altar. They killed also the lambs, and they sprinkled the blood upon the altar. And they brought forth the he-goats for the sin offering before the king and the congregation, and they laid their hands upon them. And the priests killed them, and they made reconciliation with their blood upon the altar, to make an atonement for all Israel, for all Israel. For the king commanded that burnt offering and the sin offering should be made for all Israel. And he set the Levites in the house of the Most High with cymbals, with psalteries, and with harps, according to the commandment of David and of Gad the king's seer, and Nathan the prophet. For so was the commandment of the Most High by his prophets. And the Levites stood with the instruments of David, and the priest with the trumpets. And Hezekiah commanded to offer the burnt offering upon the altar. And when the burnt offering began, the song of the Most High began also with the trumpets, and with the instruments ordained by David, king of Israel. And all the congregation worshiped, and the singers sang, and the trumpeter sounded. And all this continued until the burnt offering was finished. And
that sounds like a whole lot going on just to rededicate the temple.
Oh yeah.
Singing, dancing, cymbal playing. Woo.
And when they had made an end of offering, the king and all that were present with him bowed themselves and worshiped. Moreover, Hezekiah, the king and the princes commanded the Levites to sing praise unto Yahweh with the words of David and of Asaph the seer. And they sang praises with gladness, and they bowed their heads and worshiped. Then Hezekiah answered and said, Now ye have consecrated yourselves unto the Most High. Come near and bring sacrifices and thank offerings into the house of the Most High. And the congregation brought in sacrifices and thank offerings, and as many as were of a free heart, burnt offerings. And the number of the burnt offerings which the congregation brought was 70 bullocks, and 100 rams, and 200 lambs. All these were for a burnt offering to the Most High. And the consecrated things were 600 oxen and 3,000 sheep. But the priests were too few, so that they could not flay all the burnt offerings, wherefore their brethren the Levites did help them, till the work was ended, and until the other priests had sanctified themselves. For the Levites were more upright in heart to sanctify themselves than the priests. And also the burnt offerings were in abundance, with the fat of the peace offerings, and the drink offerings for every burnt offering. So the service of the house of the Most High was set in order. And Hezekiah rejoiced, and all the people, that Yah had prepared the people for the thing that was done suddenly.
All right. We're going to go to Ezra 6 next. Now, this was a dedicating of the temple, but this was like almost 200 years before the Maccabees did.
Okay. Ezra on it.
All right, the book of Ezra.
Esdras.
That was more like 500 years before the Maccabees. We still had the temple under our rulership for another 200 years before Babylon took it over. Ezra chapter 6.
All right, the book of Ezra chapter 6. We reading the whole thing.
Wait a minute. Go ahead and start reading. Start at 1. I know that.
The book of Ezra chapter 6 verse 1. It reads, Then Darius the king made a decree, and search was made in the house of the rolls where the treasures were laid up in Babylon. And there was found at Achnetha, is that how you pronounce it? Achnetha, and the palace that is in the province of the Medes, a roll, and therein was written a record thus written. In the first year of Cyrus the king, the same Cyrus the king made a decree concerning the house of God at Jerusalem. Let the house be built, and the place where they offer sacrifices, and let the foundations thereof be strongly laid. The height thereof 80 cubits, and the breadth thereof 80 cubits.
So this is when Cyrus was in power, and he letting us rebuild it yet again. This is the second building of the temple. Go ahead. Verse
4, with 3 rows of gray stones and a roll of new timber, and let the expenses be given out of the king's house, and also let the golden and silver vessels of the house of God, which Nebuchadnezzar took forth out of the temple which is at Jerusalem and brought onto Babylon, be restored.
This was after Babylon sacked it, and now they letting them rebuild the temple again, but it's still under Hellenized doctrine. Go ahead.
And brought again onto the temple which is at Jerusalem, every one to his place, and placed them in the house of God. Now therefore Tatnai, governor beyond the river Shathar Boznai, and your companions, the Pharsakites, which are beyond the river, be ye far from thence. Let the work of this house of God alone. Let the governor of the Jews and the elders of the Jews build this house of God in his place. Moreover, I make a decree, what ye shall do to the elders of these Jews for the building of this house of God, that of the king's goods, even of the tribute beyond the river, forthwith expenses be given unto these men, that they be not hindered. And that which they have need of, both young bullocks and rams and lambs, for the burnt offerings of the God of heaven, wheat, salt, wine, and oil, according to the appointment of the priests which are at Jerusalem, let it be given them day by day without fail, that they may offer sacrifices of sweet Savior unto the God of heaven, and pray for the life of the king and of his sons. Also I have made a decree that whosoever shall alter this word let timber be pulled down from his house, and being set up, let him be hanged thereon, and let his house be made a dunghill for this. Verse 12. And the God that hath caused his name to dwell there destroy all kings and people that shall put to their hand to alter and to destroy this house of God which is at Jerusalem. I, Darius, have made a decree. Let it be done with speed. Then Tatnai, governor on this side the river, Shethar-Bozna, and their companions, according to that which Darius the king had sent, so they did speedily. And the elders of the Jews built, and they prospered through the prophesying of Haggai the prophet and Zechariah the son of Iddo. And they built and finished it according to the commandment of the God of Israel, and according to the commandment of Cyrus and Darius and Artaxerxes, king of Persia. And this house was finished on the 3rd day of the month Adar, which was in the 6th year of the reign of Darius the king. And the children of Israel, the priests and the Levites, and the rest of the children of the captivity kept the dedication of this house of God with joy, and offered at the dedication of this house of God 100 bullocks, 200 rams, 400 lambs, and for a sin offering for all Israel 12 he goats, according to the number of the tribes of Israel. And they set the priests in their divisions, and the Levites in their courses, for the service of God, which is at Jerusalem, as it is written in the book of Moses. And the children of the captivity kept the Passover upon the 14th day of the 1st month. For the priests and the Levites were purified together. All of them were pure, and killed the Passover for all the children of the captivity, and for their brethren, the priests, and for themselves.
See, Cyrus let them do Passover. Let them rebuild the temple, they got to do Passover in their land, but the temple still wind up getting defiled so much. That's why Maccabees had to come and rededicate the temple a 3rd time. This is the 2nd building of the temple. Go ahead.
Verse 21. And the children of Israel, which were come again out of captivity, and all such as had separated themselves unto them from the filthiness of the heathen of the land, to seek the Lord God of Israel, did eat, and kept the feast of unleavened bread 7 days with joy, for the Lord had made them joyful, and turned the heart of the king of Assyria unto them, to strengthen their hands in the work of the house of God, the God of Israel.
Right. Yeah, that was the 2nd dedication of the building of the temple. We had just come out of Babylonian captivity. Now Persia took over and they let us go back and build the temple. But they still had an influence on us worshiping other gods, idols. And we still running back to the land. Let's go to 1 Ezra 7 in the Apocrypha.
Hosea. I was telling Hosea.
Ezra 7.
Yeah, it started it's on good open.
Yeah, no doubt.
I'm just saying. Come on, bro. Me too. The book of 1 Ezra, chapter 7, start at verse 1. Everybody there? Then Sisones, the governor of Syria, and Phoenice, and Sathrabuzanes with their companions followed the commandments of King Darius, did very carefully oversee the holy works, assisting the ancients of the Jews and the governors of the temple. And as the holy works prospered, when Aggeus and Zacharias the prophets prophesied, and they finished these things by the commandment of the Lord God of Israel, and with the consent of Cyrus, Darius, and Artaxerxes, king of Persia.
Now we see this the same dedication that we just read in Ezra 6.
Verse 5, and thus was the holy house finished in the 23rd day of the month of Adar, in the 6th year of Darius, king of the Persians. And the children of Israel, priests, and the Levites, and others that were of the captivity, that were added unto them. I'm going to read that again. And the children of Israel, the priests, and the Levites, and others that were of the captivity, that were added unto them, did according to the things written in the book of Moses. So even right there at the building of the temple, y'all see the strangers
Was amongst them.
God amongst them.
Strangers was amongst us.
During the building of the temple.
Right.
Verse 7, and to the dedication of the temple of the Lord, they offered 100 bullocks, 200 rams, 400 lambs, and 12 goats for the sins of all Israel, according to the number of the chiefs of the tribes of Israel. The priests also and the Levites stood arrayed in their vestments, according to their kindreds, in the service of the Lord God of Israel, according to the book of Moses, and the porters at every gate. The children of Israel that were of the captivity held the Passover the 14th day of the first month, and the priests and the Levites were sanctified. They that were of the captivity were not all sanctified together, but the Levites were all sanctified together. And so they offered the Passover for all them of the captivity, and for their brethren, the priests, and for themselves. And the children of Israel that came out of the captivity, did eat, even all they that had separated themselves from the abominations of the people of the land, and sought Yahweh. And they kept the feast of unleavened bread 7 days, making merry before the Lord. For they had turned the counsel of the king of Syria toward them, hallelujah, to strengthen their hands in the works of the Lord God of Israel.
It's all praise. Now, when they did this second temple, that was in 537 BC. And it took up to, it was between 167 to 142 BC is when the Maccabees fought to get it back. So for all that time, all kind of treacherousness was being done to the temple. From 539 to 142, 167, I mean, well, that's 400 years or whatever. Let's hit that first Maccabees full whole thing. We're gonna do that. It's a long First Maccabees chapter 4.
Also, family, if you just really that whole second book of Chronicles, you get into that whole second book of Chronicles, you read the whole thing, and you see all the parallels and similarities in the Maccabean rededication of the temple and all the things that Solomon went through to build that first temple. You see them, you know what I'm saying, dedicating some of these same number of bullocks and rams on the altar. You know, they see them keeping it 8 days. It's just all parallels, you know what I mean? And it's just, you know, we often look for, you know, well, when was the first time our people did this? Or when was the first time our people did that? But if you look closely, you see parallels everywhere, like it always tells us about these feasts, about our prayers, about all the things that we practice. It's just a foreshadowing of things that have happened and of things to come. You know what I'm saying? So,
Excuse me, bro. If you say that with your chest, man, I can't hear you.
Second Chronicles. Book of Second Chronicles.
Oh, my, says, come on.
There's one in every crowd.
All right, First Maccabees chapter 4.
First Maccabees chapter 4. I'll wait for you. Everybody there? Then took Josephus 5,000 footmen and 1,000 of the best horsemen, and removed out of the camp by night, to the end he might rush in upon the camp of the Jews, and smite them suddenly. And the men of the fortress were his guides. Now when Judas heard thereof, he himself removed.
No, but hold on. I'm sorry. Let's go back to 45 in chapter 3, because it's setting it up. So just slide back one. First Maccabees chapter 3, verse 45. Let's start right there.
One page back. You starting 35 off?
45.
Everybody there? Verse 45, chapter 3. Now Jerusalem lay void as a wilderness. There was none of her children that went in or out. The sanctuary also was trodden down.
So now we see the sanctuary is trodden down. Now, y'all understand why I need to go back there. Set the tone. Go ahead.
And aliens kept the stronghold.
Who?
Aliens kept the stronghold.
So it wasn't our people.
And it wasn't little green men either.
Go ahead.
The heathen had their habitation in that place.
But who had their habitation in that place?
The heathen had their habitation in that place.
So they sacrificing everything. Swine blood, orgies, they having it all right there at the temple.
Well, see, that's funny. In this reading I have in another book, it says, let's see, and the sons of aliens held the citadel. It was a lodging place for the Gentiles.
Mm-hmm.
So does that mean the Gentile and the heathen are the same thing? Same thing.
So the aliens and the heathens are the same.
There we go. There we go.
Alien just means foreign.
Other nations. Other nations.
That's all.
There we go.
Don't mean from another planet.
You know, these
Other nations.
Which one did you for?
We have 40.
45 and 3.
Oh, 45. Oh,
Yeah.
You mean
Chapter 3. Chapter 3,
Yeah.
verse 45. Chapter 3, verse 45. I'm gonna start that over. 45. Now Jerusalem lay void as a wilderness. There was none of her children that went in and out. The sanctuary also was trodden down, and aliens kept the stronghold. The heathen had their habitation in that place, and joy was taken from Jacob. And the pipe with the harp ceased. Wherefore the Israelites assembled themselves together and came to Massa over against Jerusalem. For in Massa was the place where they prayed aforetime in Israel.
This is where they had to run to go pray. They couldn't do it where they were supposed to be doing it. Because the heathens had it locked down.
Yeah.
They was doing their thing.
Then they fasted that day and put on sackcloth and cast ashes upon their heads and rent their clothes and laid open the book of the law, wherein the heathen had sought to paint the likeness of their image.
Y'all know what that is.
No,
plain English right there, huh? Hebrew.
it's called whited out.
There you go.
Verse 49. They brought also their priests, garments, and their first fruits, and the tithes, and the Nazarites they stirred up, who had accomplished their days. Then cried they with a loud voice toward heaven, saying, what shall we do with these? And whether shall we carry them away? For thy sanctuary is trodden down and profaned,
Say that again.
For the sanctuary is trodden down and profaned.
So our sanctuary is trodden down and profaned.
Fine.
That's for 400 years of somebody else running our temple. Go ahead.
And the priests are in heaviness and brought low. And lo, the heathen are assembled together against us to destroy us. What things they imagine against us, thou knowest. How shall we be able to stand against them, except thou, O Elohim, be our help? Then sounded they with trumpets. Then sounded they with trumpets, and cried with a loud voice. And after this, Judas ordained captains over the people, even captains over thousands, and over hundreds, and over fifties, and over tens. But as for such as were building houses, or had betrothed wives, or were planting vineyards, or were fearful, those he commanded that they should return, every man to his own house, according to the law. So the camp removed and pitched upon the south side of Emrys. And Judas said, arm yourselves and be valiant men, and see that you be in readiness against the morning, that they may fight with these nations that are assembled together against us to destroy us and our sanctuary. For it is better for us to die in battle than to behold the calamities of our people and our sanctuary. Boy,
Where your heart at now?
Nevertheless, as the will of God is in heaven, so let him do.
All right, look on. Finish reading, jump in verse 4, chapter 4.
Chapter 4. Then took Gorgias 5,000 footmen and 1,000 of the best horsemen, and removed out of the camp by night, to the end he might rush in upon the camp of the Jews and smite them suddenly. And the men of the fortress were his guides. And when Judas heard thereof, he himself removed, and the violent man with him, that he might smite the king's army, which was at Emrys. How you say this?
Emmaus.
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 We gonna get it, yeah.
Yes, you can.
Yeah, we know what you're talking about.
Verse 4. While as yet the force were dispersed from the camp, in the mean season came Gorgias by night into the camp of Judah. And when he found no man there, he sought them in the mountains. For said he, these fellows flee from us. But as soon as it was day, Judas showed himself in the plain with 3,000 men, who nevertheless had neither arm nor sword, had neither armor nor swords to their minds.
They have no weapons, just standing strong. Go ahead.
For the Lord. And they saw the camp of the heathen, that it was strong and well harnessed, and compassed round about with horsemen. And these were experts of war.
They were experts of war, huh? Oh, let's see what's going to happen.
Then said Judas to the men that were with him, fear ye not their multitude, neither be ye afraid of their assault. Remember how our fathers were delivered in the Red Sea, when Pharaoh pursued them with an army.
Oh, we call on the high power now.
That's right. Bring it to their remembrance.
Come on.
Now therefore, let us cry unto heaven, and peradventure the Lord will have mercy upon us, and remember the covenant of our fathers, and destroy this host before our face this day. That so all the heathen may know that there is one who delivereth and saveth Israel. Hallelujah. Then the strangers lifted up their eyes and saw them coming over against them. Wherefore they went out of the camp to battle, But they that were with Judas sounded their trumpets. So they joined battle, and the heathen, being discomforted, fled into the plain.
Oh, they got shook. Well,
Howbeit all the hindmost of them were slain with the sword, for they pursued them unto Gazaria and unto the plains of Idumea and Adamos and Germania.
just pick a way and stick with it.
Gemini, so that they were slain of them upon a 3,000 men. This done, Judas returned again with his host from pursuing them, and said to the people, be not greedy of the spoils, inasmuch as there is a battle before us, and Gorgas and his host are here by us in the mountain. But stand ye now against our enemy, and overcome them, and after this you may boldly take the spoils. And Judas was yet speaking these words. There appeared a part of them looking out of the mountain, who, when they perceived that the Jews had put their host to fight, and were burning the tent, for the smoke that was seen declared what was done. When therefore they perceived these things, they were so afraid, and seeing also the host of Judas in the plain ready to fight, they fled every one into the land of strangers. Then Judas returned to spoil the tents, where they got much gold and silver and blue silk and purple of the sea and great riches.
You have to understand, these heathens was running for almost 400 years. And in 24 years, they took it all back. Go ahead.
Verse 24. After this, they went home and sung a song of thanksgiving and praised the Lord in heaven, because it is good, because his mercy endured forever.
You got 3,000 men, no armor, no swords, and they standing against 6,000, 1,000 of them on horseback. These experts of war, you know what I mean? We just read it. We didn't hear nowhere that nobody flinched, nobody showed, scared, doubt. It all comes down to faith, y'all. Where your faith is, brother. You know what kind of faith you got when you being tested, when your eyes is up against you. You know what I mean? That's what these stories are here for. You know what I mean? When you weak in faith, when you unsure yourself. You go back and read about our foremothers and our forefathers. They never wavered. You know what I mean? Imagine what that does for the morale of the enemy. To see us raiding their camps, destroying them. They ready for it. They got shields, breastplates, and all that. You know what I'm saying? We don't got nothing but the power of the Most High. Imagine what that does for them. You know what I mean? It helps you understand why they go out of their way to keep us down to this day.
Yeah, because they know the power of our mind. We get on that track, on that right track, they can't do nothing with it.
Nothing.
Or to keep our history from us, because things like this will keep us strong and keep us together, because we got things to come in the future. You know, Christ said they're gonna come for us, so we're gonna have to look back on things like this to be strong.
Because they know you that strong. They know you that strong. That's why they send 30 and 40 police for one brother.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because they know the power.
It might be a Samson moment.
Most times, they're gonna meet everybody.
Verse 25. Thus Israel had a great deliverance that day. Now all the strangers that had escaped came and told Lysis what had happened, who, when he heard thereof, was confounded and discouraged, because neither such things as he would were done unto Israel, nor such things as the king commanded him were come to pass. The next year thereof, following, the Cyrus gathered together 70,000 choice men of foot and 5,000 horsemen, that he might subdue them. So they came into Idumea and pitched their tents at Bethusa. And Judas met them with 10,000 men. And when he saw that mighty army, he prayed and said, Blessed art thou, O Savior of Israel, who didst quell the violence of the mighty man by the hand of thy servant David, and gavest the host of strangers into the hands of Jonathan, the son of Saul, and his armor bearer, Shut up this army in the hand of the people Israel, and let them be confounded in their power of horsemen. Make them to be of no courage, and cause the boldness of their strength to fall away, and let them quake at their destruction.
That was 10,000 running off 70,000. Huh? Man, they know that power we got on us.
Keep running.
Go ahead.
Verse 33. Cast them down with the sword of them that love thee, and let all those that know thy name praise thee with thanksgiving. So they joined battle, and there were slain of the host of Lysias about 5,000 men. Even before them were they slain. Now when Lysias saw his army put to flight, and the meanness of Judas soldiers, and how they were ready either to live or die valiantly. Thank you, Lord. He went into Antiochus. How you say that? Antiochus, and gathered together a company of strangers. And having made his army greater than it was, he proposed to come again into Judea. Then said Judas and his brother, Behold, our enemies are discomfited. Let us go up to cleanse and dedicate the sanctuary. Upon this, all the hosts assembled themselves together and went up into the Mount Sinai. And when they saw the sanctuary desolated, and the altar profaned, and the gates burnt up, and shrubs growing in the courts as in a forest, and in one of the mountains, and the priest chambers pulled down.
It looked like one of them bad houses on the north side.
No doubt.
Overgrowths all over. They got to redo this whole thing.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
They rent their clothes and made great lamentation and cast ashes upon their heads, and fell down flat to the ground upon their faces, and blew an alarm with the trumpet, and cried toward heaven. Then Judas appointed certain men to fight against those that were in the fortress, until he had cleansed the sanctuary. So he chose priests of blameless conversation, such as had pleasure in the law, who cleansed the sanctuary, and bear out the defiled stones into an unclean place. And when, as they consulted what to do with the altar of burnt offerings, which was profane, they thought it best to pull it down, lest it should be a reproach to them, because the heathen had defiled it.
That's right.
Wherefore they pulled it down, and laid up the stones in the mountain of the temple in a convenient place, until there should come a prophet to show what should be done with them. Then they took whole stones according to the law, and built a new altar according to the former, and made up the sanctuary and the things that were within the temple, and hallowed the courts. They made also new holy vessels, and to the temple they brought the candlestick and the altar of burnt offerings, and of incense, and the table, And upon the altar they burned incense, and the lamps that were upon the candlesticks they lighted, and they might give light in the temple. Furthermore, they set the loaves upon the table, and spread out the veils, and finished all the works which they had begun to make. Now on the 5th and 20th day of the 9th month, which is called the month Kislev, in the 148th year, they rose up betimes in the morning, and offered sacrifice according to the law upon the new altar of burnt offerings which they had made. Look at what time and what day the heathen had profaned. Even in that was it dedicated with songs and cisterns and harps and cymbals. Then all the people fell upon their faces, worshiped and praised the God of heaven, who had given them good success. And so they kept the dedication of the altar 8 days, and offered burnt offerings with gladness, and sacrifice the sacrifice of deliverance and praise. They decked also the forefront of the temple with crowns of gold, and with shields, and the gates and the chambers they renewed, and hung doors upon them. Thus was there very great gladness among the people, for that the reproach of the heathen was put away.
Y'all see that? Y'all see how they was decking the doors with gold and all that? Y'all see what day of the month that was on? 25th. See what the heathen's doing, man? Y'all see that? Yeah. All praises, man. You would never know if you don't go into these scriptures and look though. You know what I'm saying? You would swear up and down Christmas was what you were supposed to be doing. But see our forefathers doing something righteous in order. You know what I'm saying? And you see where the heathens get it from. It's beautiful, man.
And it don't even matter, because if you read Jeremiah 10, they was had the Christmas tree 3,000 years before Christ was even on earth.
So you see they've been
about him.
Yeah, you see they've been trying to model what we do. They've been trying to conform what we do to fit their own agenda. You know what I mean? They know these are the oracles of God. They know this is the truth. They understand this is the universal law. They know they can't change it, so what they look to do is move you out the way and slip themselves in.
Right. You know, this is a great thing that just happened. We dedicated this temple.
Yeah.
Like I said, they had it for almost 400 years, and they had to fight for 24 years to get it back. And they put all new stuff in there. We ain't taking no chance with none of it.
None of it. Right.
400 years of defilement? No, it all got to go.
Come on. Everything. Verse 59. Moreover, Judas and his brethren with the whole congregation of Israel ordained that the days of the dedication of the altar should be kept in their season from year to year by the space of 8 days.
8-day feast.
From the 25th day of the month Kislev, with mirth and gladness. At that time also they builded up the Mount Sinai with high walls and strong towers round about, lest the Gentiles should come and tread it down, as they had done before. And they set there a garrison to keep it, and fulfill fortified Berthusum to preserve it, that the people might have a defense against Idumea. Edom. Yeah. I know that. I know what it means.
All right, let's go to Second Maccabeus chapter 2.
You said second Maccabeus?
Yeah. So they took everything. Little leaven and left the whole number.
That's right.
Yeah.
Galatians 5:9.
You said Second Maccabees chapter 2.
Second Maccabees chapter 2, verse 1.
We reading the whole thing.
Yeah, it's only 32.
All right. Second Maccabees chapter 2, starting at verse 1. And it is also found in the records that Jeremy the prophet,
Or Jeremiah.
yeah, the prophet commanded them that were carried away to take the fire as it had been signified, and how that the prophet, having given them the law, charged them not to forget the commandments of the Lord, and that they should not err in their minds when they see images of silver and gold with their ornaments. And with other such speeches exhorted them, that the law should not depart from their hearts. It was also contained in the same writing that the prophet, being warned of God, commanded the tabernacle and the ark to go with him as he went forth into the mountain, where Moses climbed up and saw the heritage of God. And when Jeremy came thither, he found an hollow cave wherein he laid the tabernacle and the ark and the altar of incense, and so stopped the door. And some of those that followed him came to mark the way, but they could not find it, which when Jeremy perceived, he blamed them, saying, as for the place, it shall be unknown until the time that God gather his people again together and receive them unto mercy. Then shall the Lord show them these things, and the glory of the Lord shall appear, and the cloud also, as it was showed unto Moses. And as when Solomon desired that the place might be honorably sanctified. It was also declared that he, being wise, offered the sacrifice of dedication and of the finishing of the temple. And as when Moses prayed unto the Lord, the fire came down from heaven and consumed the sacrifices. Even so prayed Solomon also, and the fire came down from heaven and consumed the burnt offerings. And Moses said, because the sin offering was not to be eaten, it was consumed. So Solomon kept those 8 days. The same things, also were reported in the writings and commentaries of Nehemiah, and how he, founding a library, gathered together the acts of the kings and the prophets and of David and the epistles of the kings concerning the holy gifts. In like manner also Judas gathered together all those things that were lost by reason of the war we had, and they remain with us. Wherefore, if ye have need thereof, send some to fetch them unto you. Whereas we then are about to celebrate the purification, we have written unto you, and ye shall do well if ye keep the same days. We hope also that the God that delivered all his people and gave them all an heritage and the kingdom and the priesthood and the sanctuary, as he promised in the law, will surely have mercy upon us and gather us together out of every land under heaven into the holy place.
Gather us.
For he has delivered us out of great troubles and hath purified the place. Now, as concerning Judas Maccabee and his brethren, and the purification of the great temple, and the dedication of the altar, and the wars against Antiochus Epiphanes, and Epater his son, Eupater his son, and the manifest signs that came from heaven unto those that behaved themselves manfully to their honor for Judaism, so that being but a few, They overcame the whole country and chased barbarous multitudes.
We just read that about the unarmed men, 3,000 going against them. You know what I mean? And he came back with another 70,000 and got ran off again. All praises.
Verse 22. And recovered again the temple renowned all the world over, and freed the city, and upheld the laws which were going down, the Lord being gracious unto them with all favor. All these things I say, being declared by Jason of Cyrene in 5 books, we will essay to abridge in 1 volume. For considering the infinite number and the difficulty which they find that desire to look into the narrations of the story, for the variety of the matter, we have been careful that they that will read may have delight, and that they that are desirous to commit to memory might have ease, and that all into whose hands it comes might have profit. Therefore to us that have taken upon us this painful labor of abridging, it was not easy, but a matter of sweat and watching, even as it is no ease unto him that prepareth a banquet and seeketh the benefit of others. Yet for the pleasuring of many, we will undertake gladly this great pains, leaving to the author the exact holding of every particular, and laboring to follow the rules of an abridgment. For as the master builder of a new house must care for the whole building, but he that undertaketh to set it out and paint it must seek out fit things for the adorning thereof. Even so I think it is with us, to stand upon every point and go over things at large, and to be curious in particulars belongeth to the first author of the story. But to use brevity and avoid much laboring of the work is to be granted to him that will make an abridgment. Here then will we begin the story, only adding thus much to that which hath been said, that it is a foolish thing to make a long prologue, and to be short in the story itself.
You must remember that story about that dedication.
Yeah.
Let's read about Zedekiah, the last descendant of David to hold the throne. Let's go to Jeremiah 52, like 1 through 16.
Jeremiah 52.
Jeremiah chapter 52, 1 through 19. Right?
Jeremiah chapter 52, start at verse 1.
Is there a question?
What's up, bud?
So this word is, like we talking about fire, take the sacrifice. This is what they get, coming down the chimney.
You know what? That might be where they get that from. They try. He's a master copier, so ain't no telling. Ain't no telling. That may very well be it. Yeah, right. I ain't never seen him come down those chimneys. Them cookies would go.
The holy gifts. That's the gifts of the tree. That's say really copy there.
And then got you bound to the tree. Singing to the tree.
Right.
Thanking the tree for the present. The tree ain't putting nothing out there.
Christmas tree.
I know you did just start breaking down that song.
That's what y'all.
Well, who got it? Jeremiah chapter 52.
Jeremiah chapter 52, verse 1. Zedekiah was one and 20 years old when he began to reign. And he reigned 11 years in Jerusalem.
Now, how old was he?
21.
Because his brother had just got his head cut off right before. Go ahead.
And his mother's name was Hamutal, the daughter of Jeremiah of Libnah. And he did that which was evil in the eyes of the Lord, according to all that Joachim had done. For through the anger of the Lord it came to pass in Jerusalem and Judah, till he had cast them out from his presence, that Zedekiah rebelled against the king of Babylon. And it came to pass in the 9th year of his reign, in the 10th month, in the 10th day of the month, for all the people that love saying the Bible does not have dates in it, that Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came, and he and all his army against Jerusalem, and pitched against it, and built forts against it round about.
Now, this is the last sending of David rule. They got the rule to do.
Gave you a day, a year, a month. Sound like a date to me. Right down to the left. So that kills it. The Bible don't have any dates in it, y'all. It's all through it. You just gotta know how to read. Verse 5. So the city was besieged unto the 11th year of King Zedekiah. And there goes another date again. And in the 4th month, in the 9th day of the month, the famine was sore in the city, so that there was no bread for the people of the land. Then the city was broken up, and all the men of war fled, and went forth out of the city by night by the way of the gates between the two walls, which was by the king's garden. Now the Chaldeans were by the city round about, and they went by the way of the plain. But the army of the Chaldeans pursued after the king, and overtook Zedekiah, and in the plains of Jericho, and in all his army was scattered therein.
This is what happened to the last ruler under the blood of David. Go ahead. Look what happened to him.
And just notice how we read Maccabees, you know what I'm saying? Those brothers was begging for the Most High. They was doing their best to keep the law after being pursued by the armies. You know what I'm saying? They were able to stand against however many enemies it was, regardless of what they didn't have. But then you see these cats under Zedekiah, the men of war. They know they perpetrate wickedness in the land. Now they encountered about by the enemies. They scared. They ready to run.
Plus, he just saw his brother.
You know what I'm saying? You know what you're doing while you're doing. You know what I'm saying? Now here's the Lord. Now you ready to run.
It'll make you shoot.
Right. Got a question.
Was that kind of one of the scrolls real my room? Was it Joachim?
And that was brother Joachim. Yeah, Joachim kicked long before, right before, you know what I'm saying? Then he got killed, like that was saying. And his brother came in and picked it up right where he left off.
So doing some yes sir and no sir. Come on.
I'm gonna start verse 8 again. But the army of the Chaldeans pursued after the king and overtook Zedekiah in the plains of Jericho, and all his army was scattered from him. Then they took the king and carried him up unto the king of Babylon to Riblah in the land of Hamath, where he gave judgment upon them. And the king of Babylon slew the sons of Zedekiah before his eyes. He slew also all the princes of Judah in Riblah. Then he put out the eyes of Zedekiah.
No, not our bloodline descendant. Put his eyes on him.
Wicked, he gotta go. And the kings of Babylon bound him in chains and carried him to Babylon and put him to prison to the day of his death.
Put his eyes out and locked him up till he died.
Now in the 5th month, in the 10th day of the month, which was the 19th year of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came Nebuzaradan, captain of the guard, which served the king of Babylon, into Jerusalem, excuse me, and burned the house of the Lord, and the king's house, and all the houses of Jerusalem, and all the houses of the great men burned heat with fire. And all the armies of the Chaldeans that were with the captain of the guard break down all the walls of Jerusalem round about. Then Nebuzaradan, the captain of the guard, carried away captive certain of the poor people and the residue of the people that remained in the city, and those that fell away, that fell to the king of Babylon, and the rest of the multitude. But Nebuzaradan, the captain of the guard, left certain of the poor of the land for vine dresses and for husbands.
See how we got to say we still got saved out of that situation. So we still got to keep carrying on. Good.
And the pillars of brass that were in the house of the Lord, and the bases, and the brazen sea that was in the house of the Lord, the Chaldeans break and carried all the brass of them to Babylon. The caldrons also, and the shovels, and the snuffers, and all the bowls, and spoons, and all the vessels of brass wherewith they ministered, took they away. And the basins, and the fire pans, and the bowls, and the cauldrons, and the candlesticks, and the spoons, and the cups, that which was of gold in gold, and that which was of silver in silver, took the captain of the guard away.
Well, this is the beginning of the Babylonian captivity. This is what Maccabees delivered them from. From that was the last time a bloodline descendant ruled the temple until Maccabees took it back 400 some years later. So,
Right now, here, still call that black on black crime with it, because both
Y'all got the Josephus on y'all? Anybody got the Josephus on you? Just everything that really he was just bringing out from that Chronicles to that first and second Maccabees. It's all compiled right here in this Josephus in the Antiquity of the Jews. Josephus, he really just kind of gives not a more in-depth account, but it's just like another account. You know what I'm saying? To talk about a few other places, a few other names. Yeah, let me see where I'm gonna start at. Yeah, it's in the Antiquity of the Jews. Let's see where to start at. It's about 3 or 4 chapters, but again, it's everything that we just covered. I guess it would be best to start.
if I got it on there. I don't think it is.
I don't want to read it all for y'all. Well, look. Because there's no fun and you read it on your own, man. I'm gonna start at chapter 5, y'all. I'm just gonna read over to chapter 7. They're small chapters, but it kind of goes from first Maccabees all the way to second Maccabees, just in a couple of chapters.
Chapter 5 and what book?
Josephus, Antiquities of the Jews, book 12, chapter 5 through 7. And when you get into that, when you first start into that story of Maccabees in that first chapter, I think it's like that first chapter of first Maccabees, y'all, like this first chapter in that 11th verse. First Maccabees, the first chapter, 11 verse says, in those days went there out of Israel wicked men, persuading many, saying that they wanted to go and make a covenant with the heathen. And it kind of goes in depth right here when you get into this Josephus. Chapter 5. We're gonna start right. I'm gonna go up just a little bit in the 4, then I'm just gonna fly through it, y'all. What does Daniel say for time's sake?
21 minutes.
So I'm just gonna start at the last couple of verses in 4, and then I'm gonna read on out. It says that
Which one you need to say?
book 12, chapter 5. But I'm gonna skip up a couple of verses in chapter 4.
Try to see it.
And these are the Jews.
That's really the question.
What was that?
Oh, he was talking about that never. What you tell me?
I can't. The never. We had them. When the statute that had nothing to do with the dedication.
Solomon.
No, that's never. When he had everybody, praying with this statute.
Yeah, but see, that was him getting them to worship to his day. That was
That was his own.
Yeah, that was his. He had us worship to his.
Yeah.
Go to book 12.
Book 12.
The death of Alexander the Great to the death of Judas Maccabeus. Book 12, y'all. It's all snacks in there. Okay, so it looked like Brooke gonna pull it up. I read fast, y'all, so if I want to fast, just stop me.
See here. Right minute, boy.
Let's see. So, okay. Moreover, he built courts of greater magnitude than ordinary, which he adorned with vastly. He's talking about Antiochus, his brother, before he came in the reign. Moreover, built courts of greater magnitude than ordinary, which he adorned with vastly large gardens. And when he had brought the place to this state, he named it Tyre. This place is between Arabia and Judea, beyond Jordan, not far from the country of Hezron. And he ruled over these parts for 7 years, even all the time that Seleucus was king of Syria. But when he was dead, his brother Antiochus, who was called Epiphanes, took the kingdom. Ptolemy also, the king of Egypt, died, who was besides called Epiphanes. He left 2 sons, and both young in age, the elder of whom was called Philometor, and the younger Sychon. As for Hyrcanus, when he saw that Antiochus had a great army, and feared lest he should be caught by him, and brought to punishment for what he had done to the Arabians, he ended his own life, and slew himself with his own hand, while Antiochus seized all his substance. Into chapter 5, this is where it gets into the Maccabean story, y'all. I just kind of wanted to let you know who he's talking about. About this time, upon the death of Onias the high priest, they gave the high priesthood to Jesus, his brother. For that son which Onias left was yet but an infant, and in his proper place we will inform the reader of all the circumstances that befell this child. Remember, in First Maccabees, it's telling you about wicked men coming out of Israel looking to make pacts with these heathens round about us. But this Jesus was the brother of Onias, was deprived of his high priesthood by the king, who was angry with him and gave it to his younger brother, whose name also was Onias. For Simon had 3 sons, to each of whom the priesthood came. And we have already informed the reader. This Jesus changed his name to Jason, but Onias was called Menelaus. Now, as the former high priest, Jesus raised a sedition against Menelaus, which is his brother. Y'all keep that in mind. These are brothers in the high priesthood fighting over the high priest because this cat Epiphanes and took over. So now he's setting the high priest into whose hands that he wanted in. You know what I'm saying? And the sons of Tobias took part of Menelaus, but the greater part of the people assisted Jason. So we see the separation in Jerusalem under the heathen's rule right here. And by that means Menelaus and the sons of Tobias were distressed and retired to Antiochus to inform him that they were desirous to leave the laws of their country and the Jewish way of living according to them, and to follow the king's laws and the Grecian way of living. Remember, I just keep telling y'all, these are the priests. Yeah, these are the priests, the high priests. They don't want to get down no more. They ready to go kick it with the Greeks.
We following y'all no more. We following man.
Wherefore they desired his permission to build them a gymnasium at Jerusalem.
Wow.
Now this is where First Maccabees pick up right here, y'all. And when he had given them leave, they also hid the circumcision of their genitals, that even when they were naked, they might appear to be Greeks. Y'all hear that?
How do you do that?
How do you manage that?
Right.
How do you hide your circumcision? You know what I mean? That's some high level wickedness, y'all. High level wickedness.
Man, we can't even think about it now.
Right, I can't even fathom that. Accordingly, they left all of the customs that belonged to their own country and imitated the practice of the other nations. Now Antiochus, upon the agreeable situation of the affairs of his kingdom, resolved to make an expedition against Egypt, both because he had a desire to gain it, and because he condemned the son of Ptolemy as now weak and not yet of abilities to manage affairs of such consequence. So this heathen, he want the whole known world. He don't just want what he has, he want it all. You know what I'm saying? So he came with great forces to Pelusium and circumvented Ptolemy Philometor by treachery and seized upon Egypt. He then came to the places about Memphis, and when he had taken them, he made haste to Alexandria in hopes of taking it by siege. So Antiochus was a maniac, y'all. He was taking over the whole known world and of subduing Ptolemy, who reigned there. But he was driven not only from Alexandria, but out of Egypt by the declaration of the Romans, who charged him to let the country alone. Because we already know the Romans had a sick infatuation with Egyptology and all that themselves. You know what I'm saying? So what about preserving that culture? It was about making sure that the Greeks didn't get it before they did. Let's see here. Accordingly, as I have elsewhere formally declared, I will now give a particular account of what concerns this king, how he has subdued Judea and the temple. For in my former work, I mentioned those things very briefly and have therefore now thought it necessary to go over that history again. That's Josephus talking, y'all. And that with great accuracy. King Antiochus, returning out of Egypt for fear of the Romans, remember the Romans ran him out when he came over there to take it from Ptolemy, made an expedition. Now he's mad since he can't beat the Romans and take over Egypt. He's mad because he sees Judea as a smaller country, so now he got that in his sights. He now subdued Judea and the temple. For in my, okay, I'll skip up, my bad, y'all. King Antiochus returned out of Egypt for fear of the Romans, made an expedition against the city of Jerusalem. And when he was there in the 143rd year of the kingdom of the Seleucids, he took the city without fighting. Those of his own party opened the gates to him. And when he had gotten possession of Jerusalem, he slew many of the opposite party. And when he had plundered it of a great deal of money, he returned to Antioch. And this witness to what you was just reading out of that Maccabees, Adoniah.
But that show you the Most High worked through them too. They took that without
In First Maccabees, and when we just read about the high priest looking to make pacts with the Greeks because they don't want to get down with their own culture no more. They see the Greeks taking over the known world, so it's what them brothers said. We rather die than to go out like that. You know what I mean? But all Israel ain't Israel, y'all. Now it came to pass after 2 years, in the 145th year, go to them dates again, on the 25th day of the month, which is called by us. Say that word for me, bro.
Kislev.
That one. And by the Macedonians, Apelles, in the 153rd Olympiad, that the king of Jerusalem, the king came up to Jerusalem, and pretending peace, he got possession of the city by treachery.
This is the Did you hear them say the 53rd Olympiad? Remember they built the gymnasium?
Oh,
Right.
oh. And pretending peace, he got possession of the city by treachery, at which time he spared not so much as those that admitted he into it. So even the brothers, even those of the high priesthood that had made pacts with the Greeks to get down with him, when he got in the city, he killed all them too.
Yeah.
You know, because it's like any wicked man think if I can get you to go against your own people for me, what makes you think that I'm gonna need you in the latter end? You can go to your trade. So I'm gonna use you what I can use you for, and then you out of it.
Yeah, you got to go.
At that time, which he spared not so much as those that admitted him into it, on account of the riches that lay in the temple, but led by his covetous inclination, for he saw there was in it a great deal of gold and many ornaments that had been dedicated to it of very great value. And in order to plunder its wealth, he ventured to break the league he had made. You know what I'm saying? Because he had made a pact with them. You know, they get to keep the priesthood if they let him in and move how he want them to move. But when he saw the temple for himself, he's like, I need all that for myself. No, I don't want to. No, you can't get that. I want that.
I want it all.
So he left the temple bare and took away the golden candlesticks and the golden altar of incense and the table of shewbread and the altar of burnt offerings, and did not abstain from even the veils, which were made of fine linen and scarlet.
He even stole
the curtains. The haters, man. He because they don't have this kind of stuff in Greece.
Right.
They don't have that outside of trading with other nations. They don't have it. It's caves and mountains out there.
That boy took the curtain.
He took the curtains. He also emptied it of its secret treasures and left nothing at all remaining. And by this means cast the Jews into great lamentation. For he forbade them to offer those daily sacrifices which they used to offer to God according to the law. And when he had pillaged the whole city, some of the inhabitants he slew, and some he carried captive, together with their wives and children, so that the multitude of those captives that were taken alive amounted to about 10,000. He also burnt down the finest buildings, and when he had overthrown the city walls, he built a citadel in the lower part of the city. We just read that it became a dwelling place for the heathen. For the place was high and overlooked the temple, on which account he fortified it with walls and towers, and put, and put into it a garrison of Macedonians. However, in the citadel dwelt the impious and wicked part of the Jewish multitude, from whom it proved that the citizens suffered many and sore calamities. Those wicked Jews they talked about, y'all. And when the king, they always gonna be there. And when the king had built an idol altar, and when the king had built an idol altar upon God's altar, he slew swine upon it, and so offered a sacrifice neither according to the law, nor the Jewish religious worship in that country.
That's why they had to tear it down. Go ahead.
He also compelled them to forsake the worship which they paid their own God, and to adore those whom he took to be gods, and made them build temples into Hellenism, y'all, and raise idol altars in every city and village, and offer swine upon them every day. He also commanded them not to circumcise their sons, and threatened to punish any that should be found to be transgressed his injunction, and also appointed overseers who should compel them to do what he commanded. And indeed, many Jews there were who complied with the king's commands, either voluntarily or out of fear of the penalty that was denounced. But the best men, and those of the noblest souls did not regard him, but did pay a greater respect to the customs of their country than concerned to be punished, than concerned as to the punishment which he threatened to the disobedient.
They weren't even concerned about none of that.
No.
I don't care nothing about none
Keeping
of
my
that.
laws, my God's laws, statutes, and commandments.
That's right.
Bump what you talking about.
That's right. On which account they every day underwent great miseries and bitter torments, for they were whipped with rods, and their bodies were torn to pieces, and were crucified while they were still alive and breathed. They also strangled those women and their sons whom they had circumcised, as the king had appointed, hanging their sons about their necks, as they were upon the crosses. Sound familiar, don't it, y'all? This is 3,000 years ago. And if there were any sacred books of the law found, it was destroyed. And those with whom they were found miserably perished also. When the Samaritans, when the people of Samaria, saw the Jews under these sufferings, they no longer confessed that they were of their kindred. Now, them ain't my people. I don't know them. Sound familiar, don't it, y'all? Sound like what happened to the Messiah when he told them boys what happened to them, huh? What Peter and them did, don't it? Nor that the temple of Mount Gerizim belonged to the Almighty God. This was according to their nature, as we have already shown. And they now said that they were a colony of Medes and Persians. And indeed, they were a colony of theirs. So these Negroes,
you ain't claiming your own heritage.
These Negroes said that they was Persians when the Greeks came.
Persian.
We had a long standing relationship with the Samaritans. Called Jacob a Syrian.
Go ahead.
Where am I at, y'all? Okay, they say this was according to their nature, because it's in the nature of some Negroes. When the times get hard, they're gonna fold, as we have already shown. And they now said that they were a colony of Medes and Persians, and indeed they were a colony of theirs. So they sent ambassadors to Antiochus and an epistle whose contents are these Negroes. To King Antiochus the God. These Hebrews, y'all, they're Israelites. To King Antiochus the God, Epiphanes, a memorial from the Sidonians who lived at Shechem, our forefathers upon certain frequent plagues, and as following a certain ancient superstition, had a custom of observing that day, which by the Jews is called the Shabbat. And when they had erected a temple at the mountain called Gerizim, though without a name, they offered upon it the proper sacrifices. Now upon the just treatment of these wicked Jews, Now upon the just treatment of these wicked Jews, now these are the wicked Jews calling the Hebrews that's trying to keep the law as well as the Dathla God, they call it them wicked. Unbelievable. Sounds like the pastors, how they do us to this day. Now upon the just treatment of these wicked Jews, those that manage their affairs, supposing that we were of the kin to them, and practice as they do, make us liable to the same accusations. Although we are originally Sidonians, calling themselves Persians again, as is evident from the public records. We therefore beseech thee, our benefactor and savior, talking to Antiochus, to give order to Apollonius, the governor of this part of the country, and to Nicanor, the procurator of thy affairs, to give us no disturbance, nor to lay to our charge what the Jews are accused for, since we are aliens from their nation and from their custom.
Ultimate bootlicker.
Ultimate bootlickers. Ultimate bootlickers. Then they say, but let our temple, but let our temple, which at present has no name at all, be named the temple of Jupiter, holiness. So these niggas is going to take the temple. They're gonna take Solomon's temple and dedicate it to Antiochus and to his gods, and say that the Hebrews, the Israelites that's keeping the law is the wicked Hebrews. Y'all keep this in mind. You
This
see
is why they
this?
had to tear it down.
It's going on right now.
Where he say it, it's dealing with it right now.
It's going on right now.
No, man, there's so many countries playing games. See, you out for these heat. I'm looking at it, they're party. Let the heat party, you would sit there and watch them do it. They won't say nothing.
Because they want their cut.
Yeah, you get no cut.
They want their cut.
They
They look good to them what the heat is doing, you know? Yeah.
Man, this out. I'm gonna make me so mad. And the most I got in my head, too, we get it like this. We lose your job, you know what I mean? You back of that corner, I'm really good.
All for a couple crumbs. You crumbs here and there.
The temple of Jupiter. The lineage. That's cool.
And you know, just before we get up out of here, you know what I'm saying? Y'all see all the atrocities that that our people went through just to rededicate a physical temple back to the Most High. You know what I'm saying? But I want the brother to read this right quick.
74.
No, 44.
Where you going?
44. We're gonna read Acts chapter 7, verse 44. You know what I'm saying? Because I want to show you, you know what I'm saying, all the things that they did for the physical temple. You know what I'm saying? How they went to war and was battling their hardest just to get it back and rededicate it to the Most High. You know, after they didn't slew pigs on our altars and everything. It just took over our temple.
Let him get there.
All right, 37. That's cool. That's cool.
Hey y'all, hey, look, I said,
Acts
get into that Josephus, man. It keeps going. It gets good, but it lines up perfectly with that whole Maccabean account.
34.
7 and 30. I'm gonna start at 37. Acts chapter 7, verse 37.
Say 37.
Mm-hmm.
Back that up.
Say 37 good. Go back some more.
29.
Start at 29.
Wherever y'all want to start.
Start at 29.
And this was just a brother Stephen right before he got stoned. He was just giving you a recount of our history.
Yeah.
The one you read out you put on the board.
Josephus, book of Josephus.
Book 12, chapter 5.
Start at chapter 5 through 7. Yep. 5 through 7 is that whole Maccabean account just kind of compiled into those 3 good chapters right there. Just another account, you know what I mean? But it goes directly with the Maccabean account. Acts chapter 7, I started 29 with the Lord's permission. Then fled Moses at this same, and was a stranger in the land of Madian, where he begat 2 sons. And when 40 years were expired, there appeared to him in the wilderness of Mount Sinai an angel of Yahweh in a flame of fire in a bush. When Moses saw it, he wondered at the sight. And as he drew near to behold it, the voice of the Lord came unto him, saying, I am the God of thy fathers, the God of Abraham, and the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob. Then Moses trembled and durst not behold. and with our fathers, who received the lively oracles to give unto us, to whom our fathers would not obey, but thrust him from them, and in their hearts turned back unto Egypt, saying unto Aaron, make us gods to go before us. For as for this Moses, which brought us unto the land of Egypt, we wot not what is become of him. And they made a calf in those days, and offered sacrifices unto the idol, and rejoiced in the works of their own hands.
So I'm saying, we just reading.
Right.
More important, y'all, it kind of sound like us. Sound like us.
Sound like us.
Sound like myself. You know what I mean? The Lord will do something miraculous for you, and you be all thankful, and I ain't eating this, and I ain't doing that, and you get comfortable, you get lax, and you be right back doing what you're doing, not reading no more, not praying no more, just right back lax, doing what you was doing before you came out of mental Babylon.
Doing worse.
Doing worse.
Oh.
You know, when you read these stories, the best way to keep your foot from correction is not to relate it to those wicked Israelites, but to relate it to yourself. Make sure you ain't in this category. Okay. Where are we at? Verse 40?
Yeah. No, we're in verse 41.
41. And they made a calf in those days, and offered sacrifices unto the idol, and rejoiced in the works of their own hands. Then God turned and gave them up to worship the host of heaven, as it is written in the books of the prophets. O ye house of Israel, have ye offered to me slain beasts and sacrifices by the space of 40 years in the wilderness? Yea, ye took up the tabernacle of Moloch, and the star of your god Rephan, figures which he made to worship them. And I will carry you away beyond Babylon. Our fathers had the tabernacle of witness in the wilderness, and he had appointed, speaking unto Moses, that he should make it according to the fashion that he had seen, which also our fathers that came after brought in with Yahushua into the possession of the Gentiles.
Yahushua talking about Joshua. Come on.
Whom God drave out before the face of our fathers unto the days of David, who found favor before God and desired to find a tabernacle for the God of Jacob. But Solomon built him a house.
Right, so Solomon built God a temple. You know what I'm saying? The most glorious temple. You'll read about it in 1 Kings, I believe it's chapter 6 through 8 or something like that. And this is what it was all about. You know what I'm saying? You know, blood was shed, wars was fought to, you know what I'm saying, over this temple, over a physical temple. Wars was fought, men died. Come on, just to dedicate a temple back to the Most High. Come on.
Physical temple.
A physical temple. Come on.
Verse 48. Howbeit the Most High dwelleth not in temples made with hands.
So you see that wars was fought and blood was shed over a temple that the Most High doesn't even dwell in. Come on.
As saith the prophet, heaven is my throne.
Heaven is what?
My throne.
So heaven is the Most High's throne. Come on.
And earth is my footstool.
His footstool. Come on.
What house will ye build me?
So you see that? What house you gonna build for the Most High?
How dare you?
What house you gonna build for the Most High? But remember, wars was fought over it. Blood was shed. Come on.
Saith the Lord. Or what is the place of my rest? Hath not my hand made all these things?
See, the Lord has made all things. So I'm saying that to say this, even though we don't have a physical temple, we are the temple of God. And just like them men, they fought and they shed their blood to rededicate that physical temple that the Most High said he didn't dwell in. We should be fighting just as hard to dedicate our temples back to the Most High, getting sin about our body and rededicating our temples back to the Most High. You know, Yeah, dedicating our temples back to the Most High.
Just like, we were just reading in, Josephus.
Josephus.
Where you going, bro?
And
1 Corinthians chapter 3.
Yes, send it on me. It's on First Corinthians 10.
3. It's just 2.
Into
16 and 17.
Sacrifice to
Huh.
and bow down to worship a tree.
I just
Take gifts from that tree or that idol.
I just go. Let's go.
Is that,
You talking about you?
it's the way that we would do that. Hebrews would do that, would sacrifice again. He says, how is it you'll sacrifice me again? Every year you sacrifice the Father again by reaching to bow down to that tree that he spoke of in Jeremiah. That tree that you would get from a forest.
Just like you said, that wasn't the first time they dedicated this temple.
No, 3.
It's been rebuilt before. It's been dedicated several times because we always going on.
And you offer the sacrifice and telling the Creator, I'm sorry, John, 1 John 1:9, and says it talks about how you repent. Saying that I'm sorry, I repent, but you're doing it over and over and over again. As to sacrificing again to those idols or going back again. So.
What you gonna read?
1 Corinthians chapter 3, verses 16 and 17.
Yeah.
1 Corinthians.
Just showing you that our bodies are the temple of God.
1 Corinthians chapter 3, starting at verse 16. Know ye not that you are the temple of God, and that the Spirit of God dwelleth in you? If any man defile the temple of God, him shall God destroy.
Seeing you defile your temple with sin, with idol worship and sinning. You know what I'm saying? So we need to be fighting as hard as we can to get sin and leaven up out of our bodies and rededicating our mind and our whole body back to Yahweh. Right. Come on.
For the temple of God is holy.
Is what?
For the temple of God is holy.
It's set apart. Come on.
Which temple ye are?
So see, we are the temple of God. So yeah, just like the Maccabees and them, they warred to get the temple back. We need to be doing the same thing. We need to be at war with sin 24/7. Yeah, just as hard.
In full faith. Because the opposition is gonna come against you and it's gonna look like you outnumbered. It's gonna look like they're stronger than you.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? But what they lack, we have in abundance. And that's faith, right?
And without your armor too.
Exactly.
Without your armor.
Well, you got spiritual
armor. Is alive. Huh? Go ahead, bro.
We get over there 2:30 right now, come against it.
Yeah, that's right.
Our own people. We ain't cooking yet.
No, we
They know they done. That's why they just sleeping on their radio so they can call. You know they're getting burned. They can't even speak with you.
That's right.
Hey, for our worldwide audience, I've been noticing they be like, who are these brothers? This our brother Ezra. He always been around. He always around, and they say that's Hosea on the end. One of them sons of life, Pukna, said, who is the brother reading on the end? He's easy to listen to. That's you, Hosea. And of course, we got Adonai over here holding it down. So for y'all who don't know them, that's who they are.
They've been here.
They've been here.
Family.
Yes, sir. You get chopped up by a whole lot of the brothers that y'all don't see on this camera. Yeah.
Hey, that's what happens when you sweep schools around here.
These plantations be keeping us displaced sometimes, but we ain't too far.
That's all we need. We have to fall off because of these plantations sometimes. You don't see a brother as much as you should.
That's right. That's right. But we know how we got here. We know how we got here. This is how we got here, right here. Not dedicating our temples with full faith to our power.
Yeah, that's
bro. I got a couple scriptures, y'all, real quick. Since what we was reading about with
how the Most High protected us and we ain't even use no weapons, and that's about, you know, not having no fear and you trusting in our God. So I just want to pull a couple of scripts. I'm pulling one out of Deuteronomy. That what I'm reading this is to say that we should have this thought way before even reading what we just read today about the dedication. It was already in our forefathers to trust in the Lord and have no fear. That's no matter how much the heathen came up against us, we just got to have that thought. And it's going to happen again. And so we all need to keep our minds together and keep these commandments and fear our God, and we ain't fearing man. That's right. That's what it's supposed. That's what we got to keep our spirits and keep that body and mind on that, and don't worry about what they present in our face. That's right. So I got a Deuteronomy 20, verse 3 and 4. You want me to get that for you, Hebrew? Now I'm gonna read. I'm pulling a quick one, so I ain't gonna wait on you. I'm pulling another one real quick too for y'all. You gotta just listen up. It's Deuteronomy 20. I'm starting 3. And shall say unto them, Hear, O Israel, you approach this day unto battle against your enemy. Let not your hearts faint, fear not, and do not tremble. Neither be you terrified because of them. That's right. For the Lord your God is he that goeth with you. That's to right. Fight for you against your enemies, to save you. So this was already happening way before what we read about. That's right. Right. This dedication. Sure. That the mindset that we supposed to have in that fear. And I'm gonna pull one out of Psalms too for y'all. Yeah,
the Most High did not give us the spirit of fear.
That's right. And it's Psalms 28 and 7. The Lord is my strength and my shield. My heart trusted in him, and I am helped. Therefore my heart greatly rejoiced. And with my song will I praise him.
Right.
Yes.
That's all I got. That was Psalms 28 verse 7. Deuteronomy 3,
20 and 3.
20 and verse 3 and 4.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's pretty much it, honey, bro.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Got some more you want to prove?
Yeah, got something else on your mind. We got an early day today. The sun still might be up out here. Yeah.
Y'all did get understanding though, right, on dedication. So I know this ain't most of y'all first wrote.
Josephus, book 12, chapter 5 through 7. It's like a movie, man. Your foot Joe. Josephus.
Hey, I've been trying to publish that, bro. I can't do it. Some of them be slipping by. I got some suntimers, you know, I got this suntimers.
Sometimes I got it.
Sometimes I got it. Wrong thing.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's a good song.
Yeah. All right, anybody got any questions or concerns, anything before we get out of here? Sounds good to me. Okay, my friend, what you got, baby? Yeah, we're going on dedication down here.
What's the date, bro?
It's the 2nd through 10th.
Y'all heard that? Y'all heard that?
December the 2nd through the 10th.
The Feast of Dedication.
Yeah, I believe we're gonna do something that last Shabbat before it ends here.
Yeah.
Next week, I believe we're just gonna do a regular class. That following, I believe we're gonna close it out
On the 8th.
Yeah.
Right, I believe we closed out on the 8th.
We'll close it out here on the 8th because that's our access to this point.
Yeah, one other thing, though, y'all keep our sister Odelia in prayer. She lost her dad this week. So, you know, that's a rough one. Everybody go through it. But
prayers out to you, sis.
Right now, Sister Odelia, we praying for you. Stay strong, sis.
We love you. If you need us, call.
That's right. We just a phone call away. All right, y'all, with that, I guess we'll close out, get this closing song in. 111 it is.
Good class.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
So I ain't even studied that. Got another one.
Excellent class.
All right, y'all. We're gonna close out the class with the Most High's permission. In the name of His only beloved and begotten Son, our Lord and Savior, our uncrowned King, Yahweh Shah HaMashiach, long live the King.
Long live the King.
Written in the book of Psalms, the 111th chapter, and it reads, "Praise ye the Most High. I will praise Yahweh with my whole heart, in the assembly of the upright, and in the congregation. The works of Yahweh are great, sought out of all them that have pleasure therein. His work is honorable and glorious, and his righteousness endureth forever. He hath made his wonderful works to be remembered. Yahweh is gracious and full of compassion. He hath given meat unto them that fear him. He will ever be mindful of his covenant. He hath showed his people the power of his works, that he may give them the heritage of the heathen. The works of his hands are verity and judgment. All his commandments are sure. All his commandments are sure. They stand fast forever and ever, and are done in truth and uprightness. He sent redemption unto his people. He hath commanded his covenant forever. Holy and reverend is his name.
That's right.
The fear of the Most High is the beginning of wisdom.
Read that again, bro.
The fear of the Most High is the beginning of wisdom. A good understanding have all they that do his commandments.
Right.
His praise endureth forever. Hallelujah! Say that! Y'all got a shepherd too.
We'll be appreciated. The words of David.
Yes, sir.